We've dealt a lot with equations. Now we're going to work with inequalities. So first of all, the difference between an equation and an inequality. Equations have equal signs. Inequalities have these symbols instead. So let's make sure you know what each symbol means. This symbol means greater than. This symbol means less than. One way you can remember it is people talk about it being like the mouth of an alligator. And they say the mouth's open this way. It's always going to be mouth open towards the bigger piece. Because you'd always want the bigger meal if you could have it, right? Another way you can remember it, this symbol is very close to a capital L for less than. That could be another way you remember it. So greater than, less than. These two are very similar. As you can see, the only difference is they have a line underneath them. So this is, you see it has the greater than symbol with a line underneath it, meaning it can be greater than or equal to. Now please notice it's or. This confuses some people sometimes. They're like, well, no, that can't be right because it can't be greater than and equal to it. Well, that's true. You can't be both. I can't be taller than someone and the same height as the same person at the same time. I'm either taller, shorter, or the same height as them. I can only be one of them. So this is just saying this is true if the number is greater than it or if it's equal to it, where this one only works if it's a bigger number. This one is a combination of the less than sign and a straight line, meaning less than or equal to. So again, this is an or, meaning either one, not both. There's no way to be both at the same time. But this holds true if it's a smaller number or a number that's equal to it. Now we're going to learn how to graph these inequalities. We'll talk about solving them in another lesson. But when graphing them, an open circle that looks like this represents a number that is not included in the solution set. This is what we use when we have a less than sign or a greater than sign. A closed circle, that's one that's filled in like this, represents a number that is included in the solution set. We'll use that with greater than or equal to and less than or equal to. So it's open if there's no or equals to. It's closed if there is an or equals to. When you're graphing, you should always keep the variable on the left side of the inequality. I'll explain why with one of our examples down below. Okay, if it's less than or equal to, you want to draw the arrow to the left. So it'll be pointing to the left like this. Just remember, if it's less than, draw the arrow left. If it's greater than or equal to, draw the arrow to the right. So if it's greater than, draw the arrow to the right. So let's put these pieces together now. First of all, it tells us to graph x is greater than 3. So whatever number is right here, that's where you're going to put either your open circle or your closed circle. Since this has no or equals to sign, it'll be an open circle at 3. So I just draw a circle around 3. It's greater than, so I draw the arrow to the right, which makes sense because it's saying x is any number that's bigger than 3. So I want to include all these bigger numbers that are bigger than 3, 4, 5, 6, and so on. X is less than or equal to negative 11. Since it says less than or equal to, I put a closed circle on negative 11. So I fill in that circle. It says less than, so I shade to the left. I said shade, sorry, draw the arrow to the left. Okay, now number 3 is why I said you need to draw you need to have the variable. Let me back up. One like number 3 is why I said it's best to have the variable on the left. It's not that there's anything wrong with the way this is written. It's just that this trick I told you about less than means draw the arrow left, greater than draw the arrow right. This only works when the variable's on the left. If the variable's on the right, it's backwards. And in my opinion, it's a lot easier to just flip the inequality this way than it is to try to remember when to keep it forwards or backwards. And I want to make sure you understand why this is still the same thing. This is saying 17 is smaller than x. This is saying x is greater than 17. That's really saying the same thing. We're just having different starting points. So for example, I would say I am older than you. That's the same thing as saying you are younger than me. So they are the same statement. They're just said from the opposite viewpoint. I'm saying I am older than you. One, I'm saying you are younger than me. So here we're starting with 17. We're saying 17 is the smaller number than x. Here we're saying x is the bigger number than 17. So once you have the variable on the left, you can use the trick we've been using. There's no or equal to sign, so I mark the 17 with an open circle. It's greater than, so I draw the arrow to the right. So that's why I told you to always put the variable on the left, because lots of people would have seen this and they would have drawn the arrow to the left because they saw the less than. But this trick only works if the variable is on the left. Okay, last one of this kind. B is greater than or equal to. So since it has an or equal to, you put a closed circle around it. It's greater than, so I shade it to the right. Number's bigger than -5. You can ignore this. That should not be on there. That's from another set of notes. Okay, let's flip the page. So inequalities don't have just one solution. They have an interval of solutions. For example, if our solution is x is greater than 3, we don't just have one number that works. In fact, 3 doesn't work. Any number larger than 3 works. So 4 works, 5 works, 3.1 works, 574 works, all sorts of numbers, any number bigger than 3. So there's a whole range of numbers that work. So one other thing they'll ask you to do is they'll test to see if a certain value works in an inequality or not. If it does work, you'll say true. If it doesn't work, you'll say false. So for example, the inequality here is x is less than or equal to -2. So they're saying, does this work if we put in 4 for x? So I put in 4 for x. So we just ask ourselves, well, is +4 less than -2 or equal to -2? No, it's not. Obviously, +4 is bigger than a negative number, so this one would be false. Okay, number 2, we plug in 3. 3 is greater than 4. That's also false. 3 is not bigger than 4. I know, shocking, right? Okay, 3 says try plugging in 0. 0 greater than or equal to 4. That's also false. 0 is not bigger than 4. It's not equal to 4. On this last one, we plug -2 in for the x. So -2 is less than 6. That one is true. -2 is less than +6. So when they ask you about the true or false, they're going to give you a number to plug into the variable. You plug it in. You may have to add a number or multiply a number. But then you'll see, is the result true or false? Last type of question. On the front, they said, okay, what if we give you an inequality, we want you to graph the equation or graph the answer. So this is doing the reverse. This is giving us the answer on a graph and asks us to write the inequality. So always put a variable. You don't have to use x. You could use y or n or something else. And always put the number where the circle is, whether it's open or closed. Okay, there's not going to be an or equals to because this is an open circle. And since the arrow goes right, that means I put greater than, because that's shading numbers that are all greater than or bigger than 2. Okay, for this one, I put a variable. I put the number they marked with a circle. Since that is filled in, it's a closed circle, I will put an or equals to. And since the arrow goes to the left, I put less than, because it's marking numbers that are all smaller than 7 or less than 7.